is Gary Butterfield.
My name is Cole Ross.
You're listening to Best Quality Vacuum, the show about the extended Vince Gilliverse. That means Breaking Bad, El Camino, and Better Call Saul.
I really shouldn't get away with letting you just always put the Enye on El Camino.
Oh, it's cute.
Making it diminutive like that.
It's very small. Do you not understand how little that car is in the world of cars?
I mean, El Camino it's explicitly between a car and a truck. It's not a small car.
You ever seen a train? It's incredibly small. They're called tankers. Look them up, sweetheart. It's called an aircraft carrier, and it's a vehicle.
And I will not have you
read something.
Erase the sacrifices of those who died on the Arizona.
Hey, Pearl Harbor, remember it? Yeah, it's very small when it comes to the heart of our troops.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's more fun to say it that way.
Okay, no, I understand.
Say them both back to back and see which one's more fun.
I believe you. I'm not going to do it. You're not going to tell me what to do.
Well, I bet you do it later.
Nope.
When we're off mic, you're going to be like in bed, sleeping.
You can believe that if you want.
Rolling around. El Camino. And then have the best night's sleep of your life.
Well, I mean, you can believe that if you want to.
I do.
We're talking about the episode.
If you want that to happen, vote.
Just generally.
Just vote. Vote blue no matter who if you want Cole to have an El Camino dream. Feinstein for life. Vote.
Elder abuse.
Anywho,
we're talking about the episode Over today.
Mm-hmm.
This was directed by Phil Abraham. This is his only episode that he's directed, and written by Moira Wally Beckett. Written a few episodes. Moss wrote Breakage, co-wrote Fly. We'll talk about that later. And this is another one of those code name episodes. Single word making the sentence and starting with the flash forward.
Yeah. And it's a calm before the storm episode. We're going to have our big finale for the season in the next few episodes. This is place setting. Walt has gotten the news of his remission, and he's not taking it great.
No,
he falls into a depression and abuse kind of cycle, taking it around to the people around him, taking him out, and then eventually sublimates it into a little bit of a clumsy metaphor.
A little on the nose.
Little on the nose. It's fine. They talk about that on the podcast. Like, we're borrowing from a little writer you may not have heard of named William Shakespeare for this, talking about Macbeth. Out damn spot stuff. That's obviously what's happening here.
Right.
It's caused a lot of fun scenes. There's some of my all-time favorite scenes in the show.
Yep.
In this, I think the drinking scene, the tequila scene, is one of the best acted pieces on the show.
Oh, it's wonderful. Yeah.
So I'm not complaining, but it's just it's a downtime episode with a clumsy metaphor. For the most part.
The Jesse and Jane plot advances. Jesse is slighted that Jane doesn't want to introduce him to her dad, given her own past, dealing with substances.
Well, I assume that the subtext of that was Jesse wanted to meet him because it's John Delancey. So Jesse was like, yo, you're not going to introduce me to Q? That's balls. We're introduced to the dad, Donald Morgullis. Really important character in the cosmology of the show. Very tragic. Played wonderfully by John Delancey. Just incredible stuff. Playing against type in a lot of ways. And I don't mean against Q, but in general, like what John Delancey plays, this is a different character.
Yeah,
I find.
No. I wish we got to spend more time with Donald, honestly. It's a real good performance. I mean, the Water on Mars scene is, kind of top notch as far as performances and scenes go.
Yeah, it's kind of the apex. I find that scene to be the apex of this specific, like, poetic tone.
The season 2-ness.
The season 2 cosmic magnolia-ness of it. That's kind of the apex of that. Most successful it's been.
Yeah.
We also spent a lot of time at a hardware store. During this episode, we meet some alternate versions of Walt. Two other guys who are bald with goatees.
It's so funny.
And they're both there's a dark and a light mirror for him.
It's a super ego and an id that we get going.
Eros in the hardware store, Thanatos in the parking lot. Different that Walt is running into here. It's very funny.
I love that Walt gets into the classic hardware store cycle.
Yeah.
You know, like, I thought I needed this, but by buying that, I found it out that I needed these 5 other things.
Yeah, needed a carbon fiber stucco lab.
Lab.
Yeah. Yes. They shot while the store was still open, so people approached the production crew a lot, asking to be on the show. And it kind of does ambience. There's an interesting little bit of trivia about the hardware scenes that's on the podcast as well. It's a bad podcast. Dean Norris is on it, but mostly it's just high-fiving. Dean's fine. He barely talks. He just like listens to the podcast. It's just people high-fiving each other. But the most interesting thing that happened in it is on the wiki, they have a bunch of unidentified songs that are playing in the hardware store. Those are not diegetic music. Though you can't buy those songs in stores. They don't exist. Those are songs created by the composed by Dave Porter, who took the so the announcement song noises, the like sales and everything, the PA in the store, and the music is all just one track. That's fake pop music from Dave Porter.
Nice.
They're not songs you're missing.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, that's it works. It's effective music.
Yeah, it's a cool little note there, and fooled the wiki people. Yeah.
Speaking of the wiki, I just don't want to pick on those folks too much, but we really need a better class of criminal in this town.
Yeah.
Just when it comes to trivia, fandom said it best. Just a little piece of trivia here. The type of coding that Walt gets is a brand called Kills, possibly a reference to his criminal life, because a slogan for Kills is "Kills Everything,"
like Walt White. Jesse, you cannot believe that we have to kills everything. Mr. White, we have to kills everything. It's how it works. Or like Walt is, he's like, God, how do I outsmart Gus? And then he sees a commercial for Kills that says kills everything, and he like nods his head and puts on his hat.
Yep.
Like, I'm going to kills everything.
Time for me to grab my brush.
Wikipedia is bad. It's not even Wikipedia. It's just a fandom.
Yeah.
So not only is it, but it's also hard to read.
Yep.
The website that's developed defenses against it being read.
God. I love that Bombs Fall tweet. Yeah. It's real good.
Yeah. All timer. Horrible website that I rely on for a lot of work shit.
I know, right? It's regrettable.
Yeah, that's regrettable. Let's get into it. Let's do some character moments.
Let's do. We've got our cold open where we're following the bear that was fished out of the pool. Everything is being packed up into these totes to be carried away, kind of carried out to the front. When they carry it out to the driveway, we see that the Aztec is there. The windshield is shattered, but disturbingly, there are 2 bodies in body bags laying on the pavement. Done.
Skylar and
they cooked at home, and there was a lab explosion.
Yeah,
no,
it's a little dirty pool.
Yeah,
with how things are setting up. Again, weird thing that's a little bit frustrating about the podcast is they're doing the podcast in real time with the show, so they can't discuss spoilers.
You got to be coy, boys.
So they're super coy about this whole bit, and it's like I want to know about this bit. I want to know the thinking behind it. We cut to Walt after this. He's looking down at his blade knuckles from punching the crap out of a reflective surface. Takes a pull from his inhaler and goes to the bathroom to shave his head. His hair's growing back. As mentioned, he likes the look. And the water is brown and gross, foreshadowing.
Some water issues. Flynn has been complaining about the water since season 1. They're at breakfast, and Skylar says, "Hey, Walt, maybe you should take a week off of work. I need you charged up for this party that I want to throw to you. I want to throw for
Flynn
you."
goes, "Mom wants to partay." And they're real fun, dorky. There's a lot of dorky, fun dad feels.
Oh yeah.
And son feels in this whole episode. So,
yeah.
Yeah. So he doesn't want to party. It's nothing to celebrate. He has to live with what he's done. So he just kind of nods and says, sounds good. And she puts Walt to bed at this point, says, what are you supposed to do today? And he confirms, like, nothing. You're on rest duty.
Yeah.
That's right. Brownie points for taking a nap.
Yeah. I kind of get like they're like just trying to like be seductive here with him a little bit.
I didn't pick that up, but I could kind of see it. She was in seduction mode because she was dressed up for Ted.
Yeah. I felt a little bit like overcompensation, I guess.
Yeah, perhaps.
Yeah. But again, what we talked about last time about being more touchy-feely when things are on the rocks, right?
Yeah.
And so Walt, he gives about as much effort to resting as he can. He looks through through the bedside magazines and just looks miserable. Looks like he just is holding a fart. So he looks over and you think that he's looking at the baby books, but he's looking at the phone and he calls Jesse. And Jesse doesn't pick up. Then Jesse calls back. Hey, can you meet?
Yep. So they meet out at a restaurant. Jesse tells Walt, like, hey, I thought you had died. Like, I was checking the obits. They hadn't talked since the 4 days out incident. And Walt says, no such luck.
Yeah.
About this.
You piece of shit.
Yeah. I mean, I think this is, he's going to turn to a real piece of shit. I kind of like him in this episode. Or this section, rather, not this episode, in this scene.
Yeah.
He's struggling to put on the face.
Yes.
At least a little bit, and I find it very touching. He says he has the radiation pneumonitis, and Jesse's like, oh no. And he's like, it's actually good news. I'm in remission 80%. And Jesse is like, hell yeah, Mr. White, Yeah,
he's like, over the moon. Like, I
love it. Again, my central thesis, these men love each other. It's a fucked up love. But the entire series, they love each other. Even at the end.
Yeah, it's really heartwarming how much Jesse is feeling this, because this is also like, he's reliving a little bit of trauma here with his aunt, right? So like to find out, like he even says, like, I didn't think somebody at your stage like that could happen. It was the same. That was the same stage that his aunt was at, right?
Yeah. It's if you want to like read into it and stuff, it's justifying all of the hope he had that he maybe thought was foolish. Like when you hope for something that's unlikely and then it doesn't happen, you can feel like that's a wasted effort. All that hope wasn't wasted. That he had for his aunt. It can happen. It just didn't happen that time. Like, it's also demonstrating that he is a decent human being.
Yes.
Like, this is the way you react to somebody, even a stranger telling you like, hey, my cancer's in remission.
Yeah.
Like, I can't imagine not giving a high five to anybody on earth.
Well, I'd give a person, if somebody walked up to me and said they were in remission, I would give them $5.
Yeah. I'd give them 5 hugs. It's just, he's a decent person, and at this point, fundamentally more decent.
Yes.
The reason I say
options. The reason I say fuck you, Walt, is because of the pity party kind of aspect of it. It's just, I don't know.
He doesn't know what to do. It's a fairly honest place that he reacts to in the worst possible way.
Right. Yeah. He says like, options are the word they keep bandying about, because Jesse wants to know like what the future looks like, because, they're kind of, we left things with a finality, but that is no longer the operating thesis, which is part of what Walt is reacting so negatively to. Right.
Yes.
And he hands over this big paper sack full of money. Like, oh, I almost forgot this. And Walt says, hey, we're going to take our time, be cautious, sell what we have, and then I'm out. Right.
Yep. Yeah. And Jesse takes this pretty well. Contrast again with how Walt takes this when Jesse tries to be out. Anyone tries to be out.
I really think that Walt wanted Jesse to talk him into doing more.
Yeah, I could see that for sure.
Yeah.
And at the very, even if he's not, he talks himself into it.
Yeah. Oh God.
He's going to get there. This is an interesting, there's a cool bit on the podcast to talk about this, is that what Walt's doing is living with hope, and that like being hopeless can drive you to doing, success in a weird way, like hope being a wonderful thing. But like this show kind of showing that Walt was better off without it.
Yeah.
Is kind of an inversion of that, which is neat.
Mm-hmm. And it forced him to transform to a person who was decisive. Yeah.
Yeah.
And now he is rudderless. Now that he does not have that pressure on him, his barometer is broken.
He's back in an existential crisis.
Yeah.
And you can't cook or kills everything to cooks everything or kills everything to get out of that. So we cut over to the party. It looks like it's meth crystals, but it's really salt for margaritas.
Yeah.
Skylar gives a speech to everybody. I love Walt and Skylar's weird group of like 20 friends who show up only in these situations. Like they're never part of the show. It's just we need 20 extras.
she thanks them for all they've done. Like, wait, what? All you've done?
Who are these? How do you know them? It's just very funny that
like the principal's there.
Yeah, principal's there. Hank is there. Gomi's there.
Yeah,
some people we'd expect. Who's not here though is Betsy Brandt, and the reason why she's not here or is not part of this thing is because she was giving birth. That also came from the podcast. She really wanted to show up. She showed up like basically in labor, and they got her off the set. So,
gosh, she seems nice.
Yeah, she seems great. Mm-hmm. Yeah, she originally in the scene coming up with the tequila, she was originally going to be the person who took the bottle.
Oh,
and they rewrote it, and I think it's stronger with the way it is now.
Yeah.
The important thing is that Skylar finishes by thanking Gretchen and Elliot, who couldn't be there. And Walt just goes, like those fucking guys. It's not only is he rudderless, but we're getting the ego shit.
Yeah.
He has nothing. And here, his wife is thanking everybody except for him. Right. And to his mind, and also in reality, like say what you will about how villainous Walt is, he made huge sacrifices.
Yes.
To pay for this treatment. Ethical sacrifices, physical sacrifices. He gave a lot.
Yes.
And he gets no credit for it.
Mm-hmm. No. And, people call for Walt to give his speech. And this is kind of where I love this. It's so good. But I also love just all of his acting here because he is acting drunk in a very realistic way.
Oh,
he's surly drunk, right?
Yeah.
And he is not overdoing it, but he's still like visibly buzzed, but he gets up and says, when I got my diagnosis, I thought, why me? Then the other day when I got the good news, I thought the same thing. And then he just kind of peters out, like rambles.
Thank you all for coming.
Yeah.
I love that line because it's, we know why Walt's saying that. To me, that's a really relatable emotion though.
Yeah.
As well, it is hard to spend all of this time shifting gears from like fatalism to hope. Mm-hmm. That takes a lot out of you. Like if I were in this situation, I think I would feel the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like why was I lucky enough to be spared from this? Like, am I being played with?
There'd be a survivor's guilt. Like what's the other shoe dropping? Yeah.
Yeah. We got over to Hank at a table with Walt and Flynn. He's talking about the turtle bomb.
Yeah.
He's like, well, it's a metaphor. It was, he's like, why a turtle? Oh, he's like a metaphor. What's the word, Walt? And Walt just stares.
He's just sitting there, listening to and watching his son be held in rapt attention by, as Walt is confronted again with somebody who is living this dangerous life and can openly be proud of it and talk about it when he's seen horrible stuff too, but he has to keep it inside. And, he's not able to use that to gain this admiration over, from his son. And what I love here is that there are three people present at this, and all three of them have different versions of what's going on here. Nobody is privy to the psychodrama that Walt is drinking himself into.
Yes. It's a great scene. If I were to like put together a compilation of scenes that support the argument of Breaking Bad as a criticism of masculinity or an examination of masculinity, this would be one of them.
Yeah.
Like it's very rich, I think.
Yeah.
There's a lot of depth to this. So Hank asks Walt for more tequila. Walt grabs the handle, pours some Frank, pours for himself, and then looks in Flynn's cup, sees there's still some stuff in it, tosses it, and gives him a pour.
He barely has control over his arms at this point.
Yeah, he's drunk.
That's also relatable. Being so far into a tequila party that you're drinking straight from the bottle, pours from the handle. Yeah,
it's no good.
No,
but it's relatable. Like it's real bad. And I love Hank because Hank is a cool uncle. You know, Hank's like, yeah, you know, all right then, you know, better not let your mom see. Let's do it. He thinks they're having a good old fashioned balls off. Just a bunch of men, dude being bros.
It's just
this is 6 peas in a pod. Let's do it.
Yeah. Well, Walt pours his son as a, you know, ostensible, not first drink, but, you know, it's this rite of passage, you know, just probably 3 fingers of tequila.
Yeah.
But it's the masculine rite of passage, and Hank is into it, right? You know, just say like, hey, don't let your mom see. This is an acceptable transgression.
Yes.
Right.
You know, Flynn drinks it and coughs, and Hank's like, I think I see a hair or two. And Walt looks at him like he's going to fucking strangle him.
Yup.
Like, this is about me inebriating my son for masculinity reasons. Die.
Yeah. It's like, you do not get to step in. Just because I am too drunk to say that dad-ass thing doesn't mean that you get to say that.
Exactly. You know, Flynn's like, oh, is there a worm in this? And Hank's like, no, that's mezcal. Let me tell you about mezcal. He's and Hank, that's very well observed as the kind of guy who has a story for every type of alcohol. You know, and Walt pours everyone more liquor. You know, Hank stops him like, hey, kid 16, going for father of the year or something, you know? And then Flynn looks at Hank like, hey, can I drink this? And you know, again, Walt has transformed. You know, what are you looking at him for? We're celebrating. Like,
so I'll show you what a good time we're having.
Yeah, it's really, again, really well observed, surly drunk.
Yeah.
They drink, and Walt goes to pour more, and Hank puts his hand over Flynn's cup and goes, no. Just, you know, flat out, and Walt pours through his hand.
Yeah.
You know, pours into his hand. And Hank excuses himself. Like, Hank at some point is now realizing what's going on, but not the severity of it. Right? Like, he's going to leave this. He's like, the damage is done. I'm going to get out of here. He's going through something. Like, Hank is a big dumb Goomba, but he's not, and I say that like a Mario enemy. I don't think he's Italian American to my knowledge. He's you know, he's a big dum, but he's not so slow on the uptick that he can't tell that like masculinity shit's in play.
Yeah. You know,
he's
and
like,
again, everybody's got a different version of what's going on here. Like, Walt has his psychodrama or whatever. Hank, to me, is reading this as like, you know, he commented when Walt said the whole like, why me thing. You know, it's like, oh geez, you know, why don't you cheer us up more? You know, something sarcastic about that. He thinks that Walt is depressed and drunk and is lashing out in this case, and Flynn just thinks this is a good fun time game. Yeah.
The scene with Flynn later is fucking heartbreaking.
Oh God, it's terrible.
Yeah, it's one of the more devastating lines in the show. Yeah. It's just like, man. So Hank's like, he recuses himself. You know, I'd skip this one if I were you. Grabs the bottle like, hey, you know, we've been bogarting this long enough. He's just trying to end the situation. You know, this fire will burn itself out.
Right.
You know, but Walt confronts him. Bring the bottle back. You know, he's like, nah, you've had enough. He goes, no, my son, my bottle, my house.
Leading with my son.
Yeah. Like, stop trying to fucking forcibly adopt my son. And this is a thread, you know, go to the season 1 where they think Flynn is smoking pot. And Marie and Skylar, you know, go to Hank, or Marie goes to Hank about it.
Yes.
The idea of going to Walt is ridiculous. This cannot stand. Walt is not being seen as the person he is. Even if the person he is shitty, the person he is stronger than this. You know, cannot have it.
This escalates to a full-blown standoff, like, and they're both doing everything short of snarling at each other.
Yes.
You know, just like, okay, so like, what's this going to be? For all the world, it looks like it's going to come to blows when Flynn drinks the third cup when nobody's looking. And as Skylar comes out and says like, hey, what's going on? Flynn vomits into the pool.
Yep. And Walt just sits down and takes another shot. Son is pool puking. Fuck it. You know, daddy drinks.
Daddy drinks for the government.
I'm so happy that I haven't gotten this kind of like bitter, surly drunk in 25 years or something.
Oh yeah.
You know, since I like very, very early days of drinking. I just don't, if I'm in that mood, I can recognize it and not drink.
Yeah. I can steer clear of that. That is
a pretty fun tip is that it won't help. Like,
you might think it might be different. It'll be different this time. No, it won't.
Yeah. It's like, oh, alcohol is a depressant. Well, maybe for other people, but not for me. It doesn't help.
Yeah.
I've never had luck with any kind of real self-medication other than for like sleep shit, but if I'm like, I'm depressed, I'm going to have a drink, or I'm depressed, I'm going to get high. It's always the worst decision I made that day. It's worse than just being depressed.
Oh yeah. Now I have two problems. Alcohol's never made like a bad emotion better. It'll heighten good emotions temporarily.
I've never understood the things are bad, take a drink kind of thing. Like, I've just never had that experience with alcohol.
It's never numbed me,
No, I just feel the bad feelings I feel stronger.
Yeah.
And in those situations I'm often alone. Like what is my end game here? Like, roll around on the carpet? Cry and moan.
Need to sleep in the bed with one leg on the floor to keep the room from spinning. Looking at my phone with one eye closed so I can read shit. Like, I'm not a teetotaler, but like what Walt's doing here is a classic mistake.
Yeah, this is not effective drinking. By any means.
You could be way more pro about this.
Yeah, this is skill issue, Walt. Absolute skill issue.
Back.
Yeah.
Problem exists between a bottle and chair.
So we cut over to Jesse cracking eggs in a glass pan. So the camera shows up through the pan. Stunts. And talking about the brain on drugs thing, foreshadowing their drug stuff.
Oh yeah.
And then foreshadowing, Jane says, wow, he's making breakfast. He says, you weren't supposed to wake up. She goes, ever? Or, and then they both furiously wink at the camera for like 5 minutes. It really takes you out of the scene.
Yeah. They alternate eyes and they're winking. It's actually kind of upsetting.
It's really uncanny. Yeah. They somehow the noise harmonizes. It's kind of like the sound that the Switch commercials use. So she makes coffee. He's having a hard time. He's making huevos rancheros.
Yes.
For her. And she says, hey, are you working today? Whatever that means. And he goes, no, I'm all yours.
Yeah.
He's taking retirement really well.
He is.
Contrast him with Walt, in this position. Like, he has his own troubles in this episode, but like, boy, he's seems like a lot more emotionally healthy.
Yeah, he's got a little bit of gratitude. Like, he's got a pretty, at least at the start here, pretty uncomplicated situation to slouch back into. Outside of the drug life, it's obviously going to be complicated because nobody can outrun their past in this. But at least now he seems pretty happy. It's the same morning, and Walt is hungover after the party. He calls Skylar at work, but she doesn't answer. She looks at it. It's very
classic. Like, what he says on the phone too. He says like, we'll talk later. I'll explain it. Like, he's so confident in his verbal ability. It's the more mouse-ish version of just get me in a room with Gus. I can explain everything. Like, this is Walt's move. I can talk my way out of this. And that's what makes Better Call Saul such an interesting companion show. Because that's ultimately like a soul trait as well. They just take they're skilled in different ways. He says, whoever that was yesterday, that wasn't me there. And he goes on to do the dishes. However, the water starts sputtering and it's gross. It's sludge water. They have a shitty water heater. It's leaking. The pan overflowed. Fucking gross.
Yeah. It's bad. Yeah. And Skylar, listens to the message later in the break room and hangs up. Partway through, it's kind of ice cold. She hangs up when Ted comes in. And she brought in leftover churros from the party, and she stumbles through. She never told Ted that Walt was struggling with cancer. It was like, they're from this party that we held. It wasn't Walt's birthday. Here's this huge thing our family's been going through. Right.
Yeah. Walt goes to the hardware store in order to get a new water heater and an extra from King of the Hill. Like somebody who, like an episode of a King of the Hill episode called like The Perfect Salesman or something, where Hank finds a water heater salesman who he thinks he has everything in common with. and is as good a salesman as he is, but then finds out like he smokes pot or something. And then, it's real predictable. It's like a season 9 episode.
Yeah, precisely.
There's another bald guy with a goatee here, or a mustache, who's selling propane stuff, who loves it. Absolutely just loves the fucking water heaters.
And doing classic salesman stuff, like goes up to the one Walt's looking at, now there's the top of the line, listing off stats and stuff. You start with a compliment, you go for their taste. And Walt's, again, very, very dadly, he's just like, okay, well, that one's pretty nice, but like, what about the hot rods?
Yeah. What about tankless? And the look on the fucking the hardware store employee's face,
the slow smile,
like
where you realize
the horny wolf who just had a was looking at a hot sexy dancer who turned into a steak with sexy legs.
I was like, well, now we're talking. That'll run up the cost.
And he's like, well, cost is no matter, and also I'll install it myself. And the guy's just like, whoa, that is what we like to hear. I love this fucking guy so much.
It's like a beer commercial for hardware store people.
Everyone just being very, very wholesome with each other. The little shade of darkness, Walt's counting out his money and he has a 20 with some blood on it. And he pockets that to take it to like the underground hardware stores.
The place that sells the forbidden lumber.
Yes. Yeah. Human lumber. Jane's going through Jesse's sketchbook of old superheroes he used to draw when he was a kid. And these are all very metaphorical. She points out, but we got Hoverman here, who's lighter than air, like nothing weighs him down. Jesse's very weighed down. We got Kenga Man, which is the coolest design here, with Joey, his little sidekick, this gun-toting kangaroo, but that represents parent issues, fatherhood, motherhood issues. And Jane, who is a little bit more educated, Georgia O'Keeffe, this explains like, oh yeah, Kenga Man's a she. Only female kangaroos have a pouch.
What's they say? They did lab shit to him or something.
Yeah, he was the subject of experiments. Is definitely a dude, Yeah. And then Backwardo, who becomes Rewindo, who can move in reverse. Very fast, and not time travel, but again, regrets, right?
Yeah.
Here. And she says they all look like you. I wonder what a psychologist would do with this.
Yeah.
And he gets mad about this a little bit, but playful mad.
Right.
But she's onto something. Like this is some sad kid shit.
Yeah.
So.
It's drawing your own power fantasy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Someone's pounding on the door. They hear like, okay, is that you or me? She realizes it's her. It's her door that they're pounding on, and she goes to take a look, and in a panic goes out the back to go into her own unit to answer the door. And it is her dad. It's Q. It's John Delancey.
TV's Q.
Yeah, he was pounding on the door for a while, and this is heartbreaking as well. Him knowing her history, like. He was comfortable letting himself in because he didn't know, he was fearing the worst. Right.
Yeah. It's the, when we talk a lot of sugar about Jesse Pinkman on the show, and some people have taken exception to it because of him being an addict and not taking into account how hard that is on their families.
Yeah.
And especially taking his side during the family conflicts. This was the kind of stuff we needed to see. He makes a great contrast to Jesse's family.
Yes.
As somebody who hasn't and didn't give up, on their kid. And it doesn't work out great for him, but let's ignore that.
Well, it's because of Walt's involved.
Yeah. And it doesn't work out great for Jesse's parents either.
Yeah.
In one of the all-time best, most satisfying scenes of the show.
Yeah.
She goes and lets him in. He was in town. He wants to have lunch. Jesse goes there, introduce himself. And he's like, okay, and she goes, I'm it's a lieutenant. Do you need anything? Like she acts like she doesn't know him.
Acts like his landlord, like a super.
Yeah. It's rough.
Ices him out. Yeah.
Walt finished the water heater. And just as Flynn comes home, and Walt is trying to impress Flynn with the features as they test it, and it works. Like he's really excited.
Yeah.
There's no more slime water.
Yeah, and then Walt's listing off the specs and like sounds real good. Like, oh, it's got it's got like an accident resistant or failure resistant thermocoupler. Rock on, Dad.
Yeah, just real sweet dadisms. And Walt apologizes for what happened. He's like, listen, son, like I didn't behave myself well. I'm ashamed. I made poor decisions. And Flynn says, I'm sorry for throwing up in the pool.
Flynn interrupts him thinking that that's what he wants to talk about. Like it was his fault. Like he couldn't keep up. He was a lightweight. And of all the places he could vomit, he did it right in the pool.
Yeah. He embarrassed him.
Yeah.
And Walt's like, no. Like that wasn't your fault at all. Like that was my fault. Yeah. And then Flynn says, hey, you and Uncle Hank seemed mad at each other. He's like, no, I called, and he says something really interesting. He's like, I issued my apologies or something. This is a thing with Walt where he's like, no, I apologized. That's all I need to do. Go back to his conversation with Gretchen, when she confronts him. Like he think, again, to Walt, words are again, the Walt and Saul parallels that we can see in the series. To both characters, words are the key that unlocks everything. Like if I can say the right words, I can do literal magic.
Yes.
And they both operate under that principle.
Yeah. It is indeed showtime.
And Walt finishes his apology, and Flynn says, looks at him with just like big doe eyes and says, I kept up, right? You and Uncle Hank, you had 3, I had 3. It's so fucking sad. It's just really, really heartbreaking. This is a real good, the patriarchy hurts us all.
Yep.
Shit. Like, Walt didn't put this idea. Walt is not solely responsible for putting this idea that like keeping up with your dad and binge drinking is an honorable and noble thing you can do.
Yeah. That's, Viking shit.
Yeah. That's enculturated, and it should have died with dinosaurs. Like it's ludicrous.
Yeah. It's got nothing to do with being a strong person.
Yeah. Be what it means to be a man. Right. It's very sad. He can't bring himself to respond. He's kind of pats his shoulder and says, I have some tools to put away.
Yeah.
And notices the floorboards are kind of squishy and spongy.
Yeah. Specifically right where the water heater was, sticks the screwdriver into it, goes into it like Play-Doh. Now there's another problem. And this is, So Jesse is angry smoking in bed. When Jane knocks on the door to be let in, kind of acting like nothing happens, and it's like, so like, what are we going to do today? Kind of stuff. And this turns into an argument. And she ultimately says like, I did you a favor. But he just, he wants an apology. And also kind of like, he wants to make this a referendum on what exactly they are.
Yeah. Like I think there might be something real here. In that case, you should introduce me to your father. You're not ashamed of me or whatever. Take ownership over it. He likes her, he really cares about her. She says, why do you care about meeting my dad? And he says, it's not about your dad. I'm talking about us, you and me. And she says, who's you and me?
Yeah.
Like that's not, like that's not a thing. Jesse goes, I'm fucking out of here. Leaves his apartment.
Yeah. Drives away.
Yep.
Yeah. So Walt goes back to the hardware store.
Yep.
Because, he literally needs to, if he can't fix the people in his home, he will fix the home itself. Right.
Yep.
This is externalizing all this stuff that's going on with him. Filling up his cart. And he goes and saws into the crawl space and makes a face. And when Flynn gets home and finds his dad under the house, we get one of my favorite line deliveries in the show. Like, this is Bryan Cranston fully bringing out Hal from Malcolm in the Middle.
This whole scene is Hal.
Oh, yeah. We got rot.
We got rot. And then Flynn's like, I can't say anything wrong with this wood. He shows it to him. He's like, well, it's there if you know where to look.
It's everywhere. Oh, you don't want that. It's bad news.
And, is the house going to collapse? Not if I can help it. Again, real Hal line. Very pure dadacules.
Yeah, but also like again the lack of subtlety for the metaphor. Walt trying to keep everything together, knowing that stuff is.
There's
wrong,
a rot in the foundation, even though the house seems strong. There's literally a rot in the foundation.
Yeah.
Fuck off, writers.
Writers need to chill out.
I mean, it's actually fine, but it's pushing it.
Oh man!
So he goes, surprised that there are people who eat that kind of thing up.
Yeah,
like it's like this is their favorite thing in media, and I'm always very surprised by that.
Like, huh. It's a trick that works a couple times. I'm not going to say it's never worked on me. It's just can't keep.
It's
working.
It's old. It's older than the hills. It's like they said in the podcast.
Yeah. So he goes back, to Saul and stuff with his reciprocating Saul. We get this sound transition over to Beneke, the gear from the office, and Skylar's there. She's stayed late. She's trying to avoid. She doesn't want to go home. Yeah.
Yeah. And because what's really interesting, I didn't put this together on my most until this watch. She's going to discover these accounting things that lead to the downfall of Beneke because of Walt's behavior as well. It's a way that the Magnolia kind of big tapestry stuff kind of manifests in the season that is not the obvious one, right? So like he brings down this plane. That's what the foreshadowing is. He also brings down this company.
Yes.
Indirectly through a series of Magnolia-like coincidences. Because she stays late, she starts noticing accounting errors.
Yeah.
And he's like, just my dad's like handshake relationships. We'll deal with it tomorrow or not. I love that line. Yeah. Really funny. She just starts crying, and she explains something that again is very real. The good news hasn't changed anything.
Yeah.
I feel like I should feel grateful. The idea of nothing changing the next day is such a powerful, real thing.
It's huge. Yeah.
You can spend so much time anticipating something, and then the next day you still just wake up and you're still just you, you can, there's never going to be like a one thing cure.
Yeah.
If I can only do this, everything will be fine is usually not true.
I for months now, all that I have wanted is to hear this word remission. And now, is there something wrong with me that it didn't fix everything?
Yeah.
What was I foolish to want it? Am I somehow ungrateful or a bad person for not accepting it and making the most of it? Yeah.
Yeah. Really canny character work.
Yes.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah. And Ted relates to her, like he's gone through this loss, gone through a loss too. And, this is very much, caretaker to caretaker kind of thing. Talking about like, my dad, he got some good news near the end. It wasn't remission good, but it was, something we were waiting to hear. And the second I heard that, got a bad flu. And I was just down for the count. And, it took me forever to realize, I thought it was just bad luck, but it took me forever to realize I just didn't have anything left. He says, being that rock takes everything you've got, which is a true statement. And he is genuinely relating to her. Yeah.
I love how Ted is a decent person in the show. Like he's doing some shitty accounting stuff. And then later he buys a big fancy car and that's frustrating, but he's not a villain in this, and that is part of, I think that indirectly, this is not the reason why, but I think it contributed to internet chuds villainizing Skylar.
I think they were going to solve Backer from hating the woman.
Exactly. Like she cheated. That was a problem, but they can't hate Ted. Ted seems like a nice guy, and they can't hate Walt because their parents didn't raise him right. Because they didn't pay enough attention in life. Yeah. So they have to blame Skylar. So they hold hands at this point, in this budding intimacy. The next morning at breakfast, Walt is in a respirator and a dust suit, again foreshadowing, banging around, hauling shit out of the crawl space. Eats a slice of toast.
Just him gruffling this. Standing there sweaty and all this equipment. The looks that Flynn and Skylar give each other.
Like, Skylar's like, "Hey, are you going into work today?" Like, Skylar, there's rot. It's so cute.
He doesn't want to go back to work. She gave him license to skip. Come on.
Yeah, I'm skipping. It's time for rot.
Yeah. This is my fucking weird retirement.
Yep. Dad evolution. So to cut over to Jesse smoking some meth. And Jane slides a drawing under his door. And he sees that she's drawn a little picture. It says apology girl, little superhero version of her.
There's too much daylight under that door. That's not a real door. It's a lot. The dust would blow in. Come on, people.
Yeah.
Not even forgetting the heating bills.
It's a crappy apartment. No.
Yeah.
Skylar is at work. The day ends. Ted's walking by and she knocks a couple of pens off the desk to have Ted come in and help her. She's thinking about F&T.
Yes. Yeah. And Walt's down in the crawl space under the house where he needs to be, and just kind of makes a sour face and realizes back to the hardware store. Is going to go and get some sealant. You probably wouldn't use a sealant like this. Beams like that are treated for this, actually. And
not in Arizona.
More of building. They would use treated lumber for that. And also most of what you would want to get is like some kind of there's like special tape you put on top of joists to make sure that water from above doesn't rot it. So using sealant down here is it's not really a thing that you would do, I don't think.
Good to know.
Cool.
Is there a kind of tape called Kills? Because if not, I don't give a shit.
I think Kills makes a tape.
He bought a metaphorically sound thing.
But he gets two big containers of this, and as he's walking to the registers, he notices a shopping cart with some chemicals and tubing in it, and there's acetone and stuff. It's pretty clear what's going on, and even more clear when taller, scragglier Jesse walks up.
Both these guys are so hilariously cast. I love this guy.
He's even got a beanie. It's so good.
Yeah, it's really good.
He's got the blue eyes too.
It's like they're Spaceball stunt doubles in that scene.
Yep.
So he drops all these matches in there, and Walt goes into teacher mode for a second.
Yeah.
It's very cute. Like it's funny. You're buying the wrong matches. Individual match box, because the phosphorus is on the strips. Get that big 200 count box. More strips equals more phosphorus. You understand? Teacher mode.
Yeah. And the guy gets freaked out because he's been clocked.
Yeah. Don't buy everything in one place. Do it piecemeal. Makes you less noticeable. Are you following me? The guy runs.
Yeah.
And he's waiting in line. He hears the beeping, and he saw that guy run, and he turns into Heisenberg.
Yep.
He's just like, wait, hold up. Yeah. Why did I teach that guy? That's not my kid. That's not Jesse. I need to go helping these other meth kids.
Yeah. So he abandons the sealants, dropping these foolish pursuits, like why try and supplement this? We've got Heisenberging to do, and goes outside to, again, like a good needle drop. We call it the bad ones. We'll call it a good one. Yeah.
It's really good.
Yeah. TV on the radio. It's a good drop. It works.
Yeah. And TV on the radio is great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he goes out to, chase these guys down, and he confronts just like the bulky flannel biker version of him.
This guy is incredible. This weird little short sleeveless fella. He reminds me of, one of the, he looks like an I Think You Should Leave character to me.
He does.
Like one of many characters, like either one of the bikers who likes motorcycles, or one of the the fat guys who don't you want to be as funny as all the bald guys, or even the weakest sketch in the show where the guy hired the guy who looks a little bit like the other guy at work to take big.
It's pretty dumps. Similar to that. Yeah.
Like it really looks like a guy.
Yeah. And they're standing outside of a van. It's
it's very funny.
Yeah. And all that he says to them is, stay out of my territory.
Yeah.
And this makes the guy back down. The guy looks ready to throw hands. They turn around and they leave.
Yeah. And that's the end of the episode. He has territory again because he's a Heisenberg.
He's invested. He's not out the game. It is not over.
It is not actually over. Showing the irony. The rot goes too deep. You can't end it. And that's the episode. A good episode. Like a good downtime episode, IMO.
Yeah. I like it. Clumsy metaphor and all.
Yeah. The scene with the tequila, I think, is one of the stronger scenes in the show.
Yep.
It's very personally rich, like very complicated. Speaks to themes that I care about. Like I think it's really good.
Yeah. Thumbs up.
Yeah, and we're on a greased rail to the fucking end. Like the big explosive ending of season 2, which I'm excited about.
Literally.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. If you like the show, go to patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv.
Mm-hmm.
We appreciate it.
You can kick in a few bucks a month, get some bonus content, and help out your boys. Help out the whole network. And we really appreciate it. We also appreciate if you can leave ratings or reviews. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Podcast Addict, any place, any directory that allows that to happen, that helps raise the visibility of the show. Good free way to help us out.
Yes. Really would appreciate that. Tell your friends.
Mm-hmm.
If you have Breaking Bad friends, people are always starting Breaking Bad watches. Have them do it with us.
Mm-hmm. And if you have thoughts about the end of season 2, I believe that we're going to be recording that after this episode, recording that wrap up after this episode comes out. Go to Duckfeed.tv/contact and write in about season 2 stuff, specific episodes, specific moments or scenes, characters who are heavily featured. I know you got Jane thoughts.
Yeah. We don't have a long future with Jane. There's no writer's strike to save Jane. So get those Jane thoughts in.
Yeah. And big thanks to our producer, Gwen.
Oh, yeah. Huge thanks to Gwen. We appreciate you, Gwen.
Yeah.
Until next time, take care of yourself. Don't drink to excess if you can help it.
Yeah.
And don't force kids to drink. When I was a kid, I drank every once in a while. You'd sneak out. You do some drinking, and people are always jealous of the parents who are like, it's cool, just have them drink at home. I wouldn't have liked this. I didn't need to drink 9 fingers of tequila as a kid.
Not in front of all my fucking lame, my
parents'
lame,
shitty
friends.
Fingers of, I didn't need an Elden Ring amount of booze.
Yeah.
And also get Flynn some lemon juice and some fucking salt, man.
Yeah.
Do the whole thing.